I come to the Father, I come to the Son, I come to the Spirit, the three in one. I come to the water, just as I am, oh God, make me new once again.
Well, good morning. Welcome to Fridays with Francis. One of the greatest preachers I ever heard was a man by the name of Dr. Fred Craddock. Dr. Craddock was an amazing preacher. He was a great storyteller. He had a way of weaving a story in and out of the scriptures. And when he finished, he was one of those preachers that you really didn't want to leave your seat. You wanted to just stay right there and contemplate everything that he had said. Well, one night I heard Dr. Craddock preach, and he told the story of going to visit one of his students. His student was married, had small children. They had a pet greyhound, and the kids would get on the floor and play with the dog. And they told Dr. Craddock that dog was a rescue racer. He had been a greyhound in the races in Miami, and where they chased the rabbit around the track, and they had rescued that dog from that kind of life. And Craddock thought it was interesting, and he was really intrigued by the dog. Well, the time came later that night when the parents had to excuse themselves and take the children upstairs, tuck them into bed. As they did so, they left Dr. Craddock and the dog in the den together. And Dr. Craddock began to look at the dog as the dog would look at Dr. Craddock, and he began to imagine what it would be like to have a conversation with that dog. And so Dr. Craddock declared that the dog turned to him and said, "So, is this your first trip to Cincinnati?" And Dr. Craddock said, "Oh no, I came to school here many years ago, and I've come to Cincinnati many times since then." And the dog said, "Well, I guess you know by now that I'm from Miami. I was a professional racer down there." And Craddock said, well, how are you enjoying retirement?" And the dog said, "Retired? Is that what they told you?" "No, I'm not retired. I was a racer for 10 years, 7 days a week, multiple races in a day. I did that 7 days a week because we chased that rabbit, and I was determined to catch it. Every day, every race, every single moment, that was all I could think of. I want to catch the rabbit. I want to catch the rabbit." Well, one day I was making excellent time, and I was gaining on the rabbit, and I got so close to that rabbit. I got really up close. I could see the rabbit so very vividly, and I got up close enough to the rabbit to get a good look at him. And do you know what I saw? That rabbit was fake. I'd been spending my whole life chasing after a fake rabbit. Retired? I didn't retire. I quit. Well, that's a pretty interesting story, because I think it speaks to us at several levels. Sometimes we are pretty intent on chasing rabbits, aren't we? You know, those moments in our lives when we're chasing things that have no lasting value, the things that provide for us nothing of lasting importance at all. But those are the things we chase after. It can be a number of things. Um, it can be material possessions, a bigger home, a nicer car, better clothes, a better job. All of those things are important. I don't mean to imply that they're not. But when they become the focus of what we're after, we lose sight of the most important thing, and that's our relationship with God. What's the driving force in your life? What rabbit are you chasing? Jesus said in Mark chapter 8, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his own soul?" I remember reading the story of another pastor who was in a dining room, like a cafeteria, and he was sitting at a table eating his own meal, and there were three young girls at a table next to him, and they were talking about a particular boy that they knew in school. And one of them said, he's not a particularly nice guy, but he's got a nice car. Well, maybe the priority's not exactly in the right place. Where are our priorities? What rabbits are we chasing? What a sad commentary it is for us to go all the way through life chasing the rabbits and get to the end of our life looking back and realize we spent all of our time, our entire lives, chasing a fake rabbit. Jesus gave an invitation to those who were following him. "Come unto me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So on this Friday, the thought I would share with you is simply this: don't get caught chasing fake rabbits, but focus on those things that have lasting value, and the one thing above all that provides us with meaning and purpose and fulfillment, and that is our relationship with Jesus. My granddaddy lived to be 103. I asked my mama one time if she could sometime write out everybody that I was related to, because I think I'm related to everybody in Eastern North Carolina. And I wanted to know the connections. And well, Granddaddy was there. I thought he had turned his hearing aid off, but he was listening. And when I came back the next time to visit Mama, Granddaddy had taken a composition book and he had just written out a lot of things about who was related to who purchased what land, all of that sort of thing in his feeble handwriting. I remember the notebook so well because it had a picture of Snoopy on the front. As I was looking through that notebook, he even recorded his very first date. That was a hoot. But then he came to that place in the composition book where he wrote these words: "Now I want to say a little something about myself." The most important thing that a man can do is to give his life to Jesus. Because if I had not done that, I would not be here today. So Granddaddy had some pretty good advice. Well, maybe this is a good day. Maybe we don't retire. Maybe we just quit chasing the rabbits and we seek Christ above all else. Well, that's my thought for this Friday. I hope you have a great weekend, and I pray that as you go forth, you go in peace and you go with God. Amen.
I come to the Father, I come to the Son, I come to the Spirit, the three in one. I come to the water, just as I am, oh God, make me new once again. I've traveled so far from family and home, from the God who knows me as one of God's own. By baptism waters, I've stood before the Lord. Oh God, won't you cleanse me once more?